as I know, we are the only people in the world that use this bronze casting method for glass casting.
The advantage is that everything is one of a kind.
Longtime Aspen residents Jacqueline Spiro and Lee Lyon have been creating one-of-a-kind glass sculpture for 17 years. Using a rare glass casting method, Spiro and Lyon produce large, thick glass panels for use as interior and exterior decorative elements that explore and push the boundaries of glass artistry.
You really need help in glass. It's very difficult to work alone because glass was heavier than Jesus, it was really heavy. I said, I need some help in the glass thing. Next morning, phone rang, and this voice said, Mr. Lyon? Yes. Well, this person came up to see about a job, and it turned out to be Jacqueline Spiro. She weighed about 105 pounds, soaking wet. She was strong as hell. She began to work with me like 1 or 2 days a week. She was working like 3 jobs to stay alive, working for the ski corps and a couple of restaurants. And she'd come here from New York to get away from being an accountant, which is what her degree was in. Pretty soon we were working together 3 days a week and 4 days a week. And it worked for Jack because she was making a living and she could cut down from 3 jobs to 2 jobs and finally working full-time. Eventually she became a partner, and today she's the full owner of the business and I'm just cheap help. We had developed a method of producing cast glass that no one else was using at that time. I think they still are not using.
Well, first we do design work on paper, and then once we come up with our final design, we cut our styrofoam, which we make a positive out of styrofoam, and we make the size and shape that we need for our project. We turn it over, and we have a negative space into which I can carve any design. We hand carve designs into the mold, and we can carve undercuts and really deep carvings or really minimalist carvings. It picks up every detail. We have a 500-pound furnace that we melt glass in. We melt the glass to 2,300 degrees, and then we pour it with those giant ladles into the mold.
After you pour the glass into the mold, we put the mold and all away into what we call an annealing oven, which is an electric oven which holds the glass at a certain temperature specific to that glass, usually somewhere around 1,000 degrees, for several days, and then slowly cools it down. During that time that it's being held at that specific temperature, the glass relaxes and the stress works its way out of it. And when it cools down, what you get out is a piece of glass and a pile of white sand. The mold is completely destroyed as the resin vaporizes during the annealing process. So it's one of a kind.
So each mold is one of a kind. We can't reuse it because all the resin burns out. And so if anything goes wrong in the process, we start all over from scratch.
After you've all worked together for several months, pouring this hot glass out of ladles into molds, it becomes like a dance. handling this 2,000-degree material, you don't want to be bumping into somebody. Everybody has a pathway that they follow from the furnace to a stand where we trim the excess glass off the edges of the ladle, and then to the mold where the glass is poured. And all of this is going on with one person right after the next, because it's very important that you pour a ladle, and when that ladle is done, the next ladle is already being poured. And that prevents you from getting lines where one pour meets another pour. We use a lot of color. Now the color is colored glass in powder form or in little beads of colored glass. And there are a lot of different ways that you can apply it.
Often we'll mix color into the glass when it's in the ladle. We'll sprinkle it on top is the way that we like to use it the most for our flat pieces, which we did today. Sometimes you can sprinkle it in while you're pouring it. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. I think that mostly what I enjoy doing in my sculptural stuff is finding a way for things to fit together, how things come together and how they fit together, and our process that we use allows me to push the limits on how things fit together.
Aspen is a wonderful place for an artist to live because there is so much going on in terms of intellectual stimulation, and I think that's a serious, reflects itself seriously in the art that's produced here.